Some people are gonna look at this and be like, why is she wearing a Wonder Woman t-shirt when she's reviewing Aquaman? Simple answer, I don't own an Aquaman t-shirt, okay? This is the only DC related shirt that I own. They shacked up in an alternate reality. Close enough. But seriously, I wish I had an Aquaman t-shirt, but I haven't come across one that I actually liked. All of them were kind of just like the same image, and yeah. If I find a good one, I'll buy it when I have money, and I will wear it when the sequel comes out. Okay, there you go. So Aquaman is a 2018 American superhero film based on the DC Comics character of the same name and is the 6th installment in the DC Extended Universe. Directed by James Wan with a screenplay by David Leslie Johnson McGoldrick and Will Beall from a story by Juan Beall and Geoff Johns, it sees Aquaman, Arthur Curry, the heir to the underwater kingdom of Atlantis, stepping forward to lead his people against his half-brother Orm, who seeks to unite the 7 underwater kingdoms against the surface world. A large number of superhero films have been released in the last 2 years, but only one of them had me so excited with anticipation I could barely stand it, and that film was Aquaman. Now, I am by no means a fan of the comics or comic characters, seeing as how I've never read a comic book in my life, but what I am is a simple woman. I love elemental powers, especially water powers, and I have a huge fascination, borderline obsession with all things Atlantis. I've been in love with the subject since I saw the Disney movie Atlantis, so anytime you throw an ancient civilization, especially this one, my way, you have my immediate attention. So when it comes to all the superhero movies that have been released in the last 2 years, this was the one I had the most riding on and would mean I would be the most upset over if it didn't live up to my expectations. Thank the movie gods, this was everything I could have possibly wanted and more. Anyone complaining about story or runtime can keep to themselves, because I am over the moon happy with how this movie turned out. From start to finish, this movie was overwhelming, mind-blowing eye candy with camera shots and cinematography that were out of this world amazing. I cannot believe just how much work and detail went into creating this vast underwater kingdom. If it were a theme park, I would move in and never leave. The color palette is so stunning and delicious. I wanted to lick the screen but didn't, because that wouldn't be appropriate or hygienic. Probably wouldn't taste good either. This film uses all my favorite colors, but in this way that is so ethereal and otherworldly looking at it. It feels indescribable. What James Wan has done is create a visual masterpiece. I love that each location has its own unique color palette, but there is always those 1 or 2 colors shared throughout that ties everything together, such as blues and greens. Whether land or sea, the scenic shots and computer generated shots all came together so fantastically. I honestly wanted a picture book filled with screenshots from this movie. I would even frame them on my walls. Everything about this movie speaks to me and what I love in stories and characters and visuals. It's like it was made for me. Obviously it wasn't, but it is just so right for me that that's just how I feel. I think the performances were fantastic from everyone. Jason Momoa does a terrific job as Aquaman. There is an evolution to his character. He has the tough badass persona down, and he still excels at moments of levity, creating this very devil-may-care type of character. But in this film, we see more to him. We see him vulnerable multiple times, and we see numerous emotional storylines. They weren't afraid to let this badass character have weakness and heart and be human, which is so important, not just for a superhero character, but a movie character in general. It made him so much more relatable, seeing him evolve into a more fully realized character. I prefer aspects to this character in this film versus Justice League. Even though I love that movie, that film depicted Aquaman as someone angry and bitter towards his mother, feeling abandoned, whereas in this he feels sad and angry, but not towards her, towards the people who took her from him. It's clear he has a deep longing and love and respect for his mother, and I'm glad they did that because it adds a lot of heart to the character. I didn't think Momoa had that kind of range, but he did a fantastic job. Whether he's delivering a one-liner, being a badass, or doing some awesome fight scenes, he was nailing it to a T. Amber Heard, who played Mera, just wow. When we're talking about wanting strong female superheroes for young girls to look up to, This film delivers that in Mera. Mera is by no means a sidekick. She's not there to make Aquaman look good or be the damsel in distress. She is a hero and is entirely equal to Aquaman. She is not a side character. She is the leading female. There is so much put into Mera that I was not expecting, but it just gave me so much to love. Mera is also a badass and has a few witty one-liners. She saves Aquaman's ass more than a few times and demonstrates that she is exceptionally gifted with her powers and a very skilled and expert fighter. She can handle anything that comes her way and gives everything she's got in a fight. She is strong, independent, but works well with others. She's also a strong support system for Aquaman, giving him encouragement and guidance on his journey. On top of all that, Mera is a princess, meaning she has a lot more to lose than Aquaman. For her, the stakes are higher. She is putting her title, her position, her nation, her family, and her life on the line, and she acknowledges she's scared but is doing it because it's what's right. Mera is the kind of female superhero we need, and Amber Heard brings her to life and gives so much to her that it is inspiring to watch. While she can fight, she tries to solve problems through communication, proving not all problems are solved through violence. She is a badass, but she has a genuine softness and does not have a thirst for battle, but can fight if she must. Team Mera all the way. As I mentioned, there are so many good characters and each of them incredibly performed. Willem Dafoe was fantastic as Volko. I'm not used to Dafoe playing a good guy, but he does it well. His character, like everyone else, is a skilled fighter, but his greatest strength is his loyalty and his intellect. I wouldn't go as far as to call him a pacifist, but he does seem to prefer discussion to violence. I love how he connects to all the characters. There is a kind of avuncular relationship between him and Arthur. Even though he was his mentor, there is more than just a teacher-pupil dynamic going on. Nicole Kidman as Atlanna, I just want to bow down and kiss her feet. From the moment I saw Atlanna's fight scene in the trailer, I was living, and when someone leaked the full clip, it took all my strength not to watch. Watching it on the big screen for the first time was so worth the wait. Atlanna is independent, headstrong, loyal to her people, but true to herself, and she is the strong maternal character I have been waiting for. This woman is soft and loving, showing so much affection towards the man she loves and her innocent son, but she is a queen and a fighter, so don't come for this woman's family. Her fight scene might be my favorite scene from any film all year, aside from incredibly shot and choreographed, and whoever did the stunt work deserves a freaking medal. There was emotion behind that scene. This was more than just some tough woman kicking ass. This was a woman fighting with extreme ferocity to protect her family, and then she's forced to make the kind of sacrifice that echoes the power of a mother's love. She'll give up her happiness and her freedom and even her life to protect her son. There is no power greater in the universe than the power of a mother's love, and we see that each time with her. Kidman was incredible as Atlanna. It's so great having her back in a DC movie. I also love how the way she and Arthur fight is very similar. They have the same ferocity, and I really like how it's mirrored in mother and son. There are strong emotions not only in the characters but in the story, and it's so essential, and I'm so glad this film has that. Sometimes people get lost in the visuals and forget that what appeals to people and why they love these characters in the comics is because of their storylines. Their failures and their weaknesses are just as significant as their triumphs. You can't be strong or overcome without being knocked down first. Does the story have a lot involved? Yes, it does. Do I care? Not in the least. I could have sat and watched this movie for hours and hours. I like that Aquaman has to go through tests and trials to prove his worth. If he just showed up and got what he needed so easily, the film would be over pretty fast, and we wouldn't see Aquaman grow as a person or character, and we wouldn't see his relationship with Mera grow either. So his journey is important. Something else I'm loving in superhero movies these days is the complex villains we're getting. They're not necessarily characters you root for, but they are characters that we can understand and relate to. I didn't feel like this film was about good versus evil. It was about opposing morals and values. Aquaman was raised with love and kindness and in a hard-working community. His brother Orm, played by Patrick Wilson, was someone raised by a man with a negative outlook on the world who cared more about about strength and power, he's also a person who carries pain, and he deals with that pain in the form of aggression. He's looking for people to blame. The ocean, his home, is being polluted by the surface world, so he sees them as bad people who must be stopped because what they are doing is wrong. He hates his brother because he feels he is the reason he no longer has a mother, that strong maternal figure to love and protect him. That's a powerful force, and with it gone, he's left with loss and pain, and over time that was warped into anger and believing the best way to succeed is to be powerful. Orm has done bad things, but he's not a bad person. There are moments where we see humanity, so he can be an ally to Aquaman if given the chance. Black Manta, played by Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, was a character people seem to be very excited about. I can't say I felt he was entirely necessary to the film. We probably didn't really need him included, but he does at least serve as a good obstacle for Aquaman along his journey, and he does give Aquaman a chance to reflect on his own actions, so he does have some uses. Black Manta is another complex villain. While I don't believe this character can be redeemed or saved, he is still relatable. A lot of who Manta is not Manta's fault. He's a man following a family legacy, he's the third generation in the family business, and while it's not a very reputable business, he does approach it with honor. He wants to do his father and grandfather proud, and it seems that both he and his father are the products of a man who fought for his country only to be tossed aside. So he was forced to survive, to adapt, and make something of himself however he could, and that was passed on to his son and his son's son. Black Manta views Aquaman as his enemy because he is responsible for taking away what mattered most to him, and being someone raised to only act one way, he's just responding by doing what he knows. He's a brilliant man who could probably make a good life for himself, but other people's choices and actions are influencing him, and I felt bad for the character because regarding this movie, his actions came from a place of pain and loss, and in that he is very relatable. There are some very cheesy pieces of dialogue in this movie, and I am so here for it. We're talking about characters who come from pages that have words like bam and pow and hilarious sarcastic quips written in floating bubbles over the people's heads. Frankly, if I don't hear at least one funny or sarcastic one-liner in a superhero movie, then I am sad. I need it. You can still be dark or emotional if done correctly. A brief moment of levity does not detract from the overall tone of a film. It can if done poorly, but this was not done poorly. I think everything about this movie was terrific, and I am positively in love with it. Towards the end of the film, Arthur and the Leviathan was giving me extreme One Piece vibes. I mean, it had nothing to do with One Piece, and it was all very in line with Aquaman and his abilities, but just that moment was reminding me of Luffy being able to hear the voice of all things and hearing the Sea Kings, and the Sea Kings being all, "Can you hear us?" This would make no sense if you haven't seen One Piece, but regardless, that is what it reminded me of, and the parallel had me very emotional and very excited. I teared up more than once during this film. I smiled, I laughed. If I had been in private, I would have been cheering like a mad woman. You know, giving very yes, very that. Rupert Gregson Williams produced another incredible score. It was amazing how much variety there was in the score, but always something similar to hold it together, much like the color palette. The music was knock your socks off good. Action scenes felt epic with the additional score, and at other times with Atlantis or a variety of other scenes, it felt so majestic and indescribable. If a score captures my attention and has me listening to it intently during a film, that shit is good. It was powerful and hypnotic and felt as captivating as the scenery. Even Pitbull's song from the soundtrack, which I'd heard about and was cringing over, worked surprisingly well in the movie. The song by itself kinda sucks, but the clip they used and the shot they used it over was quite perfect. It was giving me very strong 90s Baywatch vibes. I was living! Don Burgess gave us fantastic cinematography, and Kirk Morey gave us brilliant editing. There was such fluidity from one shot to another that could only have been achieved with good editing. I feel as though between Wonder Woman and Aquaman, the DCEU is finally understanding the importance of good editing. For me, the bar was set ridiculously high, like up here, for this movie, and I am utterly amazed that it didn't just reach it, it flew right over it. I want to see this movie again and again. I want 50 more sequels, and I want to move to Atlantis. like right now. And there you have it. I'm done. I mean, I could keep talking about Aquaman and Atlantis and everything because it's so cool, but I have other stuff to do, and I'm pretty sure you watching this, I'm pretty sure you have other stuff to do. Like, you have other YouTube videos to binge watch, maybe a game to play on your Xbox or PlayStation, or maybe you have a job, or maybe you just want to take a nap. I don't know. I don't know what you do. I don't spy on you. I'm not telepathic, okay? I don't know shit. I don't even know where I'm going with this conversation right now. So, thank you so much for watching this video. If you have seen Aquaman, please comment down below, share your thoughts. And if you haven't seen it, or you don't want to see it, then also comment below and tell me why that is. I'm very intrigued to know, because I know there are some people who are like, I don't want to see it, and yeah, I'd like to know some reasoning behind that, because I like talking to people, because I'm nice and friendly and all that jazz. So thank you again for watching this video. Thank you again for, you know, coming, hanging out with me, listening to me talk. So feel free to come and do it again with another video. So until next time, bye.